Hi. Yeah, I know you're sick of this topic. I'm kind of sick of this topic. And yes, I'm not wearing the suit today. No, this doesn't have to do with any comments, or I should say comment about the suit. It's just, I'm not wearing the suit because, screw it, we're doing it live. I wanted to make a correction, and then I wanted to make several caveats based off of information that I've gotten from the opposition to people who are opposed to Miss Anita's videos and her message. Because I think that some people are just not articulating our side of things maybe quite in the ways that should be there. And I want to try to give this a very fair shake because, you know, this deserves that. So let me get to the correction because I got a little bit of crow to eat and I'm willing to own up to that. So here goes. Now in previous videos, I mentioned that Ms. Sarkeesian did not mention that Dinosaur Planet had 2 protagonists. I was wrong. Thanks to another user, and I'll get to their video and why I'm even presenting it in the, here in just a moment, but the point is, I missed that. It was a throwaway, mentioned in passing line which does not help Ms. Sarkeesian, but at the same time, she did say it, and therefore I was wrong on that point. However, the rest of my point still stands. Does she, links to her video down in the underbar, lest somebody complain that I'm not allowing her videos to talk for themselves, link to her video down in the underbar. Watch it yourself. Does she mention A, Saber? Does she show any video of him? Does she show any concept art of him? There's a lot of information out there. Does she show any of this? No. She mentions it in passing and then drops that part of the narrative in favor of making this seem and feel like this was a solo crystal adventure. And how dare Miyamoto dare to, maybe possibly on a subconscious level, sexistly pull Crystal from her own game to depower her. You've heard it. You've heard it all. It's in her video. How am I mischaracterizing her in that sense? The point is, the fact that Saber's not anywhere mentioned in that video, which she could have easily done, it wouldn't have added that much length to her video, shows omission of information or details. The fact that, does she correctly characterize or demonstrate why Star Fox was then inserted into the game, and or why the game eventually transitioned into a full-on Star Fox game? She does not. So that's misrepresentation of known facts. Still think this is a smart, informative, well put together video there, Cliffy B? I digress. And the fact that because there's saxophone music in the video, because maybe Fox has romantic inclinations towards Crystal, and because he's making certain faces, it's not like Star Fox is going underneath the crystal to try to get a look at Crystal's panties or possible lack thereof. But no, Crystal is now an object because Anita says she is. Therefore, you have goalpost moving. Prove me wrong, ladies. Prove me wrong. So, that does it for the correction, because I was wrong for that part of things. I was absolutely wrong, but the rest of my point still stands for the reasons I've spoken about. Now let's get into the caveats. Caveat number 1 is going to be very simple. Look, I'm not afraid of this topic as some people try to portray anybody who has a dissenting opinion to Miss Sarkeesian. I am not afraid of this discussion. If anything, there is a discussion to be had here. But if said discussion is led by somebody who is not, at the very least, being intellectually honest, let alone factually honest, then we have a problem here. Because this is not an open and honest discussion. And no, I'm not going to go for the low-hanging fruit about the fact that she disabled her comments. That's been done to death. But at the very least, to have an open and honest discussion, doesn't honesty have to be part of the equation? I've already demonstrated as an army of people, links down in the underbar, through academic review, through peer-reviewed papers, and so on and so forth, torn her positions apart. Does it mean that she has absolutely no point? No, not necessarily. I've already talked about how this trope is arguably in the beginning a sexist thing on some levels. But then the video games that she trots out as examples of, at times, misogynistic sexism in this particular trope do not fit those definitions. Things like what I talked about with Princess Peach, where the only one who's making an object out of Miss Peach herself is Anita. And that does not fit. That does not work, because then Peach is a sexual object, an object of no value. Never mind her diplomatic powers and the reason why Bowser's actually going after her for her diplomatic powers. Again, omission of details, because, you know, facts and stuff. And in a way, she's actually demeaning Peach, because she's relegating Peach to this role more than Miyamoto or those others would. Now, would I like to see a different approach to a Mario game? Absolutely. I've talked about that on my channels. But the point is, I'm sorry. You guys could do so much better. She should not be and cannot be allowed to be the voice of feminist gaming in the gaming community, because she's a destructive force. She is not a uniter. She's not somebody who's going to bring us to the table to have an open and honest discussion, because she herself does not seem to be interested in having an open and honest discussion. She's interested in making her talking points and walking away as if her case is completely watertight. But as the links down in the underbar show, I'm afraid it is not. Miss Anita implies that this trope is so destructive because it rewires the minds of young men and turns young men who would not otherwise have been misogynistic, ignoring such things as psychology, childhood development, parenting that these children had received or the lack thereof, and any sort of genes and things of this nature, or even things like, say, being narcissistic, which, if you really look at it from the outside, could have the earmarks, as it were, of being somebody who appears to be misogynistic, when really it's just they do not empathize with not just women, but anybody. But I digress. This doesn't go into this. This doesn't prove any of this stuff. She doesn't cite any of her sources. At least Thunderfoot himself cites some sources. At least Jordan Owens especially, who is a guy you really, really should be subscribed to. In the video down in the underbar, at points talks about misogyny in video gaming and how it's presented as being this destructive thing that makes boys into misogynistic men, without presenting enough information, especially peer-reviewed information, to make the information work, to make the information stick. I'm sorry, Anita. I'm sorry, those who hold to ideals like her. You have to prove your information. Otherwise, you have proven nothing. And you are trying to fight decades worth of research and facts with opinion. And I'm sorry, that is not the way to start a discussion. But myself, I am not pro-misogyny. I am not team misogyny. I am not one of these people who's going to stand right in front of you and say, "Oh, look at my penis, my wonderful penis. I'm rather proud of my phallic symbol of oppression." No. In fact, I've spoken out against it in the gaming industry. Although the one irony here is with Thunderfoot's video is that he states, but he doesn't back up Even though there is actually a study out there that does unfortunately back up Thunderfoot's assertion that feminist games are not going to sell. I actually have a link down in the underbar that actually does kind of provide a talking point, a starting point of research into women who have put their money where their mouth is in creating a feminist, a girl gaming, company, games, making games for girls by girls, and how that unfortunately tanked. Oh, but let me guess, that's society's fault. That wasn't the fault of the games that were being created there. I'm not saying there isn't a marketplace for feministic gaming, and as I've stated, I'm not saying that there isn't a discussion to be had here about equal representation, women in gaming, and so on and so forth. But it has to, at the very least, be intellectually honest, which Anita has not demonstrated herself to be. And at the very least as well, needs to be factual, which once again, Miss Anita has not demonstrated that. As I talked about in my other videos, you can see that there are a lot of feminists right now that with her first video, or at least, at the very least, are disappointed with her. She gave us no new information that we didn't already have available to us for free. Meaning that the video was entirely a waste of everybody's time, and moreover, it was a waste of everybody's money. And that should make most of you backers out there quite angry, because I have included, besides her new video, I've included her video on straw feminism, which that's a laugh in and of itself, because people have done a takedown where she's again omitted facts that did not fit her narrative that were in that exact episode of Powderpuff Girls that she should have included but didn't because it hurts her case. The point being, though, I've included it so that you can see for yourself. Tell me I'm wrong that her production values are somehow different from Straw Feminist to Tropes vs. Women, Damsels in Distress, Episode 1. If that's not enough to get you asking the more pertinent question at this point in time of where did the money go, then I don't know what will. As stated, there is a discussion to be had here. Probably the sad tragedy is all of us who are actually doing real research are going to be the ones starting any of the discussion. And you know who's going to take credit for it? Miss Factually Inaccurate, Omission of Details, Moving of Goalposts herself, Anita Sarkeesian. And I'm here to say I called it, and it's not true. And she is a disgusting individual for the things that she has portrayed so far that quite honestly have very little, if anything, to actually do with equality for women and improving the lives of or the situations of women in gaming. Links to all relevant information is down in the underbar. There is hours worth of information to watch, but I promise you it's well worth looking at.